Neigh's Stubborn Ride. Story and pictures by Casey E. Williams. Read by the author. Neigh was a happy colt, running and playing with his cousins. His family was large and their field larger. Joe and his herd would run and run, delighting in the field the cowboy gave them. He was happy and wouldn't change a thing. One day the cowboy, whom he loved so dear, came to Joe with saddle in hand, and Joe was happy and excited to take the cowboy wherever he needed to go. That is, until he learned the purpose of their trip. The cowboy was needing to make a trip to Montana to bring them into his family, like Joe and the rest of the Nevada herd. Joe was mad, downright flabbergasted. His family was great, and he refused to share his master, the cowboy, with those outside the fold, especially those Montanans, so he ran off to keep the cowboy from going. He was already tacked up with his saddle and bridle, but that was a good thing, since now the cowboy couldn't saddle another horse. He ran over hills and through creeks until, eventually, he found the perfect hiding place in the winter pasture. Now that he was far away, Joe stopped to get a snack and rest. As he roamed, out of the tall grass came a mule. "Hello, my name is Joe. What's yours?" The mule was clearly not much of a talker and simply replied, "Finn." Finn started to curiously tug at the bridle. "Oh good, can you help me get this off? It sure would make grazing easier." At first, it seemed like Finn was going to help, until he slipped his neck in the reins and started walking away. Joe quickly learned where the phrase "stubborn as a mule" came from. Finn seemed content, nay, pleased to be pulling Joe along, and there was no sitting, jumping, or arguing Joe could do about it. For 3 days, Finn, the stubborn mule, pulled Joe along over hills, around a lake, and through a river, to places Joe had never been, now dragging hooves with each step. Joe was sad he didn't go with the cowboy. Being obedient would have been the much better choice. Just as Joe was repenting in his heart, they topped a new hill where, leaning under a shade tree, was the cowboy. "Thanks for bringing him back, Finn," said the cowboy. In response, the mule simply bowed his head, let the reins fall, and headed back. Joe was amazed the cowboy had found them. It seemed out in the middle of nowhere. But he explained, "Down this hill is Montana. I walked this far knowing Finn would bring you to this tree. Do you mind giving me a lift to finish the trip?" Now free of Finn, and desiring to mend their relationship, Joe was happy to oblige. Though his master was still planning on uniting Montana with Nevada, Joe secretly had his hooves crossed that those wild heifers would hate the cowboy and refuse. But the cowboy is a great master, and those normally callous cattle were thrilled to join the family, and though they were glad, Joe was not. As they rode back, Joe's head dropped, his ears flopped, and his hoofs stomped with every step, and the cowboy knew why. As they rested once again under that shade tree, the cowboy had this to say, "Joe, you are a good colt, and I love you and all your herd. But you have forgotten that my love is infinite to all those I add into my family. Yes, I have chosen to love Montana, but that does not mean I will cease to love you and the rest of Nevada." Joe pondered what he said, and soon became very glad. He loved the cowboy, but only because the cowboy had first shown love to him and brought him into pastures where Joe was never hungry or thirsty, and where he laid was always green. On the way home, Neigh was thankful, not only because Nevada was blessed to be in the cowboy's family, but Montana was now blessed with his love also. End of Neigh's Stubborn Ride.